Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. Dubmaster Kahn here. It's been a long time since I've done any sort of teaching on this channel, so I just released a song with Justice James. Such a cool song. It's called Wailing Into Dancing. If you haven't checked it out yet, please go stream it. But we're going to start by just listening to it. I got the session pulled up here, and we're going to watch a little video, and then we'll dive in. So here it is.
This pain wouldn't. Walking down this lonely road, the devil thought that he took my hold. Then I heard you call my name, broke every chain and you took my pain. Now I'm not the same. You took my pain. Yeah, you turned my wailing into dancing. When I was hurting and in pain, now all I can do is give you praises. You're giving me peace again, yeah. You're giving me peace again, yeah. You turn my wailing into dancing. You turn my wailing into dancing, yeah. You turn my wailing into dancing, yeah. I was so broken inside, then you gave me life. And I couldn't see, so you took me high. These burdens too heavy for me. Whoa, now I feel your presence whenever I sing. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna stop it there just because that's kind of when the video is over, and I'm gonna now show you what Justice James sent me before, as a starting point. So a little bit of a backstory. Justice James is an amazing Christian reggae artist, and I heard a couple of his songs and I'm like, man, we got to collab together, because he's got kind of that cool California reggae type of voice, but he just loves the roots radic. So, and he loves Jesus, which I do too. So I hit him up, and anyways, he sent me this. So it's a drum loop, it's a bass line, chords, and his vocals. So let's just listen.
Hurting deep within, I couldn't tell if this pain would end. Walking down this lonely road, the devil thought that he took my hold. Then I heard you call my name, broke every chain and you took my pain. Now I'm not the same. You took my pain. Yeah, you turn my wailing into dancing.
I'm gonna jump to the chorus here.
You turn my wailing into dancing.
It's got a different bass line.
You turn my wailing into dancing, yeah. You turn my wailing into dancing. Dancing, yeah.
So then you have this little break here, which would have been cool had I left it And, you know, I could have done some kind of lead stuff, but,
I was so,
you know, anyways, we'll go back to the other song, but that was the original. So he gave me a really good demo, and this actual vocal take is the final one that we used. He just sent me some harmonies after that. So what I kind of did is I took his bass line, and, you know, there's probably 4, maybe 5 kind of parts to his bass line. And I really liked this part in the verse that kind of hung, this part.
now I'm not the same.
That boom, ba-doo, boom, boom, boom. Because it kind of repeats
You took my pain. Yeah.
before the pre-chorus there. So I just recorded this bass line, which is like the main bass line. Kind of how I heard it. This is my recording. And I looped that, but it was kind of missing this part right here.
Now I'm not the same.
So then when I pulled this stuff and put it into the other session, I made sure that I kept that part of the verse bass line, and then I also used his chorus bass line, which is more similar to this.
You turn my wailing into dancing. You turn my wailing into dancing.
Yeah, so like when I first sent sort of this first version with just the loop, and I'll play it with sort of just the loop version.
You turn my wailing,
You know, that boom 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 boom
into dancing.
It just, you know, he was like, oh, I'm kind of missing that part of the bass. And, you know, I had it super simple, but I listened to him and I said, yeah, okay, I'll kind of add that bass back. So here's the full mix. So let's just solo up sort of the drums, the bass, and maybe the piano, because that's like more like what the original one was. And this is real drums, obviously, in the final bass line. So you hear the main kind of bass riff, and then I go to the pre-chorus here. Sorry, I missed the part where it hangs right here. And I made sure that the other elements also hung on that part there. And then if we go to the chorus, you'll see the other bass line. And if we add the vocals, where is the vocals? If I were to add that part, you'll hear that it goes with the voice.
You turn my wailing into dancing. You turn my wailing into dancing, yeah.
So yeah, I wanted to kind of just talk a little bit about the arrangement, because I think that part where it hangs is really, really interesting, kind of right there right before the pre-chorus. And I'll play it with all the elements.
You took my pain, yeah. You turned my way.
It creates a little bit of like, tension and release. I'll actually back it up just a little bit more so you can hear what I'm saying, because he kind of repeats a part.
Broke every chain and you took my pain. Now I'm not the same. You took my pain
into the pre-chorus.
yeah. You turned my wailing into dancing. When I was hurting and in pain,
into the chorus. There's a cool guitar part. Okay, so there's that bump, which is an important kind of leader because there was nothing there. And I felt like it needed something to go there before, because this is the start of the chorus, you know what I mean? It needs something there before he starts singing. So let's back that up to the drum fill.
Peace again, yeah. You turn my wailing.
And then the guitar fills it in.
You turn my wailing.
This guitar right here.
Dancing, yeah.
Right
You
here.
turn my wailing into dancing, 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 yeah.
Then I go into the drum and bass
I
part.
was so
But yeah, let's just talk a little bit about the elements here before I dive into the kind of the mix stuff and what I did with the EQs and all that. So, okay. So first what we've got on the screen here are the drums. So if we just kind of solo all those, we'll just hear those on their own. And then all this is the percussions. I did a different percussion thing on every part of the song. It kind of grows and grows. Anyways, the bass and the pluck guitar, they're playing the same thing. I'm gonna back that part up, add the guitar. I got 4 layers of guitar chops. Piano, 3 microphones on the piano, okay, let's add the bubble organ. Look, I'll back it up, and then I did a second layer, the upper. And then on this part right here, there's a couple things that you wouldn't know were there unless I told you. So listen to this thing. Actually, we're just gonna solo it. So it's an electronic piano. And I've got a clavinet too. It's like an auto, it's actually a talk box clav.
I'm not the same.
So it really fills it up because you've got the piano, so 2 of the guitars are sustaining. If you listen here, so you got this. And then you've got this electronic piano. And you've got the clavinet. And you've got the piano that does my right hand sustains and my left hand keeps doing the chop. Here, let's back it up. And then the bubble keeps bubbling, but the upper organ holds the chord. So like all together. And the bubble keeps bubbling, and then 2 of the guitars keep skanking, chopping. So listen.
I'm not the same.
And again.
You took my thing. Yeah,
Something that I had muted here were these guys. I'll unmute it. Ultimately, Justice didn't like that. I had it.
I'm not the same.
It was a little too synthy, you know what I mean?
You took my thing.
So I left it out.
Yeah, you turned my wailing into dancing. When I was hurting and in pain.
Okay, so if we kind of something interesting about like how the progression of this song works is the percussion. So in the beginning, it's kind of more sparse. It's like this right here.
Pain wouldn't walking down this lonely road. The devil thought that he took my hold. Then I heard you call my name, broke every chain, and you took my pain. Now I'm not the same. You took my pain.
Now it kind of builds.
You turned my wailing into dancing.
It's more often, you know what I mean, and more steady.
When I was hurting and
This
in
is the
pain.
pre-chorus.
Now all I can do is give you praises. You're giving me peace again,
Kind of
yeah.
building even more.
You're giving me peace again,
Now the
yeah.
chorus is even more.
You turn my wailing into dancing. You turn my wailing into dancing, yeah.
So much
You
percussion.
turn my
But
wailing.
like, you know, I really wanted to differentiate the pre-chorus from the chorus, or sorry, the chorus from the pre-chorus, because if you had never heard this song and then you heard this part, you might think it's the chorus right here,
You turn my wailing into dancing.
right?
When I was hurting and in pain.
This is the chorus.
You turn my wailing into dancing. You turn my wailing into dancing, yeah. You turn my wailing.
So yeah, okay, let's talk about the chorus and kind of the keys and what's happening there. So similar to the pre-chorus, or sorry, similar to that part that hangs right here.
I'm not the same.
In the chorus, like I said, I want it to be like bomb, bomb, and then that little lick with the guitar. So what's making that sound? So it's the E piano and the clav, and also the upper organ. I don't know if the piano does it. Let's see. No, the piano doesn't. So yeah, it just. Oh, the guitar does too. That's right. This part right here. That little lick of the guitar is definitely a signature that fits in between the vocals, this part. And I copied and pasted it every time. It's this one right here. And then it doesn't. And then we get into the drum and bass. But yeah, so if we listen to the whole chorus, kind of, you'll hear that I'm playing stuff where the vocals really isn't, and there's that little kind of cool lick from the guitar. If we listen kind of closely here. So it goes like.
You turn my wailing into dancing. You turn my wailing into dancing.
It's just filling up all the gaps.
You turn my wailing into dancing, 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 yeah.
And then I did drum and bass.
I was so broken inside.
And I also have this cool vibra slap. So if we listen, and it kind of like goes around in the stereo feed.
Gave me life, and I couldn't see.
So pretty much the only things that are playing right now are the drums, the percussions, and the bass, and the stuck line guitar, and obviously the lead vocals. I feel like I need to back up, man. I didn't talk about the talk box guitar. So this is actually played by Justice James. So cool. It's obviously got some delay and some reverb on there. But yeah, back to the drum and bass. So this is quite a long verse. So like verse 1 is from here to kind of here. So it's like, it's only that long. And then this verse 2, like then you got pre-chorus, chorus. And then verse 2 is all the way from here to way over here. So I thought, okay, I need to add some drum and bass to this just to kind of break up the monotony, so to speak. And also, you know, verse 2 is a great spot for drum and bass. Like a verse is a great spot for drum and bass, but I'll just kind of show you what's going on. Oh yeah, I guess I should talk about the reverb too, the reverb splashes. That one's like super important to the song. So I actually, most of the reverb and delay on this session is in the box. It's the Logic Spring reverb that I love and the J37 delay. But I was like, I want to add something more, you know, a big kind of like big ship inspired reverb. So what I did is I routed it out to the board. I, you know, used the West Finga filter and the West Finga tube spring reverb. It's called the Revalverb. It's like a custom made thing that I got from West Finga. And anyways, you can hear like these drum reverbs. Just kind of show you here. So like in the beginning, I'm turning that filter or that knob, listen. Right? And then every time I hit a splash, I change the filter notch. So that one was kind of low. This one should be a little higher. Yeah. See, listen to the tonality of this one versus, so it's like, and then, and I don't know if I went higher or lower. I went even higher. So it went, and then here's another one. So I kind of kept it pretty chill.
Broke every chain and you
That's a
took
low
my
one.
pain.
The louder one.
I'm not the same.
It's a high
You
pitch one.
took my pain. Yeah, you turned my wailing into dancing.
And there's still reverb on the snare, but it's just a little bit of in the box reverb. When I'm hitting that, you know, spring reverb outboard one, it's loud and proud. You know what I mean?
When I was
Here's one coming
hurting
up.
and in pain. Now all I can do is give you
I'm gonna
praises.
do kind of two quicker.
Giving me peace again, yeah.
Wherever there's not vocals,
Giving me peace again,
I do a louder one.
peace again,
So those two are kind
yeah.
of low key. But here's a big one right here.
You turn
Then a
my
quieter
wailing into dancing. You turn my wailing into dancing, yeah.
So this
You
is the
turn
chorus, so
my
I'm kind of doing it in like two in a row.
into dancing,
And then you
dancing,
can see in the drum and bass
dancing,
part,
yeah.
I do it a lot more often.
I was
There's
so
also, like,
broken inside, but then you
delay.
gave me life,
Pretty much every
and I couldn't see.
hit
So
I
you
did one.
took me high. These burdens too heavy for me. Whoa. Now I feel your presence whenever I sing.
So you can see I brought it back. I'm gonna bring the rhythm back in
And every time I think of what you did for me,
and then cut it out.
I start to dance, and I start to sing, and I start to feel your overwhelming peace. Yeah, every time I think of what you did for me,
And then I started to make it more
I
normal
start to
again.
dance,
Because it's gonna
I
go back
start
to
to
the
smile, I
pre-chorus.
start to feel that it's all worthwhile. 'Cause I'm not the same, and all of my pain, yeah, it's not in vain. Yeah, you
The pre-chorus.
turn my wailing into dancing. When I was hurting and in pain.
Anyways, it's such a great song, and all I really did with the arrangement is just I tried to fill in, you know, melodic sort of little, not even melodic, but like more chordal, you know. There's not too many like melody stuff going on. It's more just like percussive stuff, you know, chordal stuff, and like reverb stuff. That's really what makes this song. The notes are the notes, you know. The bass line has 3 different parts. There's the drum and bass section, and then, you know, that's really pretty much it. The outro has the wah guitar again, and we can listen to that. Okay, something interesting there is I muted 2 parts of this wah guitar because the drums are doing the doom doom there. So right here in this spot, right here, this is the drums. Oh, I hit the timbali. Because look, if I unmute it, which I'll just do for a second, it kind of clashes. He's doing that wow, 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 wow. And so I just thought, you know, let's mute that part. And then same with this one here. You'll hear it without and then with. You know, and then with. There's just too much going on there. I've even got a percussion. I've got that triangle that like really stands out right there. So I muted the guitar there. And then, so, okay, let's talk a little bit about the drums, and this might be a good segue into, you know, the EQ and all of the things. Like, I wanted to start with arrangement because I never really have talked about arrangement on my channel. I've really only talked about like kind of the nerdy bits with the compression and the EQ, and this song is no exception to that rule. There's a lot of processing, but I want to quickly talk about sort of what I played on the drums here. So it's a 16th, you know, it's fast. This really kind of challenged me, and you can see that I have made some adjustments here. Like, I think this is the original. If I were to, no. You know, I might have made a little change here on that snare, right? Replaced a couple with some better ones, but I really didn't do a lot of changes. But it's your standard kind of rub-a-dub, fast 16th tick, go. And I carefully chose when to do fills, you know? So that part there, it's where he stops singing, you know? There's a gap there, so I thought.
Now I'm not the same.
That's where everything hangs up. And then just
you turn my wailing into dancing.
And all these things that you see, like, you know, it's all clipped and it looks like I edited it. So like all I really did here is it's like a micro timing. Oh, that one I didn't even do. I must have stolen that one for another part. So like on the original here, you can see that it's a bit of a flam on this one. So the hi-hat is early and then the kick is like kind of late, you know? So if I go back, that's still the same. The hi-hat is still early, which whatever, but the kick is at least kind of more on time. So I fixed that. Oh, that's what it is. It's that fill.
When I was hurting, And in pain.
So I don't know what I changed here. Oh, I just turned it down. That's all I did. Yeah, so right here on this kick, I just turned down this portion, which is where I hit the tom. So I didn't actually change anything per se. I just turned down the volume of this tom mic that was in the kick mic, if that made sense. And then oftentimes, like here on this tom hit, I've just taken out the snare, you know, same thing. And I turned down that tom there. So I try to leave it as organic as I can, you know, with these kind of things. Like I didn't touch this whole section here. And then I did something here. So I don't know, maybe I just turned up those kicks. Let's see here. I don't even know what I did. Anyways, and then sometimes on these fills, like I will delete parts. Like I deleted part of this kick where the snare hits. Yeah, so that would be some cymbal bleed on this kick that I just, you know, got rid of. Just to tighten it up a bit. You turn my way and sink I was so broken. Yeah, so like a good example is like the cymbal bleed from this snare here. If we just, so that's what it is, but originally it was this. I don't think it really made a difference. I was trying to clean it up. So broken inside. So yeah, like I tried to keep it as natural as possible. And I would have, the timing of that, I was having some troubles. Like I would listen back and I'm, you know, here I am. This is like getting close to 4 minutes into the song at the end. So I definitely made some changes. So I'm just going to go back to what it was to hear it. See, I stole a part. Is that? No, maybe this part's stolen. I don't know which one's original and which one's, yeah, okay. So this whole section right here, I must have stolen from somewhere else. Because if I drag this along, this was the original. So let's just hear this part. It doesn't sound bad to me, but yeah, see, it's a little bit more early. Anyways, I'm talking about some stuff that people probably can't even hear. It's like micro timing stuff, but yeah, I pride myself on, you know, I recorded this all in one take. And then, yeah, I went in and I, you know, edited some stuff, you know, made these toms a little bit louder, probably, you know, made a timbali quieter or whatever, but you know, the performance is there because it's on video and I captured it on video. But I think now is a good time to start talking about the EQs and stuff. So always start with the kick. So this is just good to know that this kick goes into this drum bus. So on the drum bus, I'm adding a little bit of low end at 60 hertz, a little bit of mid range, you know, actually 1.5 dB, 1.5 dB, no treble. The compressor's on, but it's not really doing much. Maybe if we were to turn on all the drums, or if I were to turn on all of these, yeah, all the processing from the kick. It's like just maybe barely the compressor's on. And then really this gate's not doing anything. So, you know, there's not much on that drum bus there. Obviously, I got to talk about, there's a ton on my mix bus, but I'm just going to leave this stuff here because I mix into it, including the limiter here, this FGX2. So I'm not going to go through all this, but what I'm going to do at the end is I'm going to take them away, and you're going to be like, oh, wow, okay. I can see that every one of these plugins is doing something. So anyway, okay, let's just go through the kick stuff quickly. So Lindell 80 is the first thing. We listened to it. Let's just go back. Let's add it one at a time. So that's with nothing on it, except for like the master. Just keep in mind, the master bus stuff is always going to be on, and the drum bus one plugin is on. Okay, so keep that in mind. Okay, so it looks like I started with this preset called Kick Rock, and like, man, adding a ton of treble, little bit of 336, sorry, that's 360 hertz, adding some at the low 35 hertz. I'm adding 1.3 dB. I'm also, I added a tiny bit to the line amp. I didn't mess with the harmonic distortion. There is definitely some compression, about 1 dB on a 6-to-1 ratio, and I like this fast recovery, 100 milliseconds. And then the gate is absolutely, it's on expansion mode. It's, you know, definitely doing a lot. So if I turn that off, you can really, you know, hear I didn't have a gate on this kick. Okay, and then turning that on, still lets a little bit of the snare through. I don't care, it's all good, but it's doing what I need it to do. Okay, what's the next thing? Pretty drastic EQ move here. I'm cutting out a lot of the low mids, and I'm adding some attack. So if I turn this off, you know, it's kind of like there's a bit of a mid-range there that I didn't like. So I did boost a little bit at 50, cut out 5 dB at 218, added 2 dB at 338, 40 hertz, and then I did like a pretty aggressive roll off of the treble. What does this sound like? You know, it just didn't really need to be there. Okay, virtual mix rack. Wow, what did I do here? Wow, I slammed it with a Neve virtual mix bus thing here, and added back a bunch of treble, added some 4K, more snap, took out some 400 hertz, added some 100 hertz. You know, often what I do is I just play around, you know, like I'll turn this off. It just kind of added some depth, I don't know. And then this plugin here is like it's a pretty gnarly, almost like a all buttons in 1176 kind of thing. I don't know, I haven't used these Slate plugins in a long time, but clearly I was liking what that was doing. So then I did another EQ where I'm adding more low end and a bit more top. That really kind of, you know, really, it turned it up a lot too, but okay. And then there's a compressor here. That really makes the thump way more present. So it's on a 4-to-1 ratio, 10 millisecond attack, fastest release, and it's doing almost 4 dB, but it's only on 68% wet. So maybe call that 2 dB of compression. I don't know how you'd say that. It's a little more than half wet. So that's the kick. It's a kick drum sound. And then I guess we should do snare next. So here's the snare. Okay, and I'll turn off the plugins. And I'll also turn off this send here and this send. So this is it with nothing on it, really. Some reverb, of course. Okay, first thing I did was I brightened it up and I dipped out a little bit. Oops, some of the fundamental, some mid-range. Anyways, I was obviously trying to add more top here. Then I added the Lindell 80. This isn't really doing much. I can't really hear what it's doing. Added some, it's just like maybe some saturation. Yeah. So I've got the total harmonic distortion here, and I added some gain. So 4 dB, just hitting the preamp hot. Compressor's off, gate's not doing anything. Okay. So this is, again, the virtual channel. Again, with the Neve color. More crispy. Without. And with. So that's with. It's crunchier. And without. You know, to be fair, I got a high lift here too of 2 dBs. Or 2. I don't know if it's dBs or not. Without. So it's still crisp, crunchier. It's even clipping, you know, and that was intentional. I wanted to give it some crunch. Okay, what do I got here? I got a J37 tape saturation. So again, making it more crispy, crunchy. That's really all I'm trying to do here. Now, here's an EQ that I rolled off everything below 60 and I added some more mids and highs. And this sounds pretty weak right now. Like it sounds like kind of, you know, it doesn't have enough bottom. And something that is, like if we look at the frequency graph of this snare, you know, it looks pretty full, but when I add this bus 12, which is this guy, the snare boom, listen to it now. That's insane what it did to the fundamental. So I'm sending a lot of signal to this bus, snare boom. And this, I'm really sharing one of my secrets here, guys. So what it is it's filtered. It's pretty much just the foundation, like the foundation, you know, frequencies. This snare is tuned very low. So what is that? 150 hertz is the kind of peak fundamental. So I'm just rolling it off under 100 and above 390. So it's just fundamental and a bit of low mids. That's all that's coming through here. So if I were to turn this off, that would let the whole thing through, and it's too, you know, it hurts. Just to get that, you know? And then what else do I got? Oh, I'm even boosting more of the fundamental there. Just without. And with. It really gets in your face. So, and then I'm also sending to bus 8, which I called the snare snap. I'll unmute that. And I'll mute it. So let's look at the graph. I'm just going to, so here's the graph with, here's the graph without, so without and with. So you can see it added a little bit more at the like 6K, you know, area when I turn that on. And that's just to add more brightness. Now, what's interesting about this is these sends, they go straight to the stereo out. So they don't go to the drum bus. So if you imagine all the drums are gelled together in this drum bus, and, you know, they also are louder than, you know, it's kind of that, I'm using the 32-bit float or whatever. It's going above 0, but it doesn't matter in the digital domain. Anyways, I try to stay under, but, you know, when you are trying to get maximum loudness, you really have to play some games to get it there. And that's what I had to do with this snare. I wouldn't, you know, ideally, I don't have to do this snare boom thing. I don't have to do this snap thing. It's what I needed to do in order to get it louder. And I actually did something even more on the mix bus that I'll show you later, that helped that snare poke out even more. So yeah, that's the snare. I don't know why I had another J37, but I ended up not using it. So anyways, now let's go through. So let's add the hi-hat to this mix. So that's kind of as it is, and here's without the plugins. And with the plugins, a lot brighter. So kind of one by one. This is my favorite EQ for top end. So at 21 kilohertz, I'm boosting. This is actually 10 dB, so I'd call that like maybe 3 dBs at 21 kilohertz. And then I've also trimmed it down 1 dB. I'm also, this is the 10x is on, so it doesn't tell you the value. That's what's kind of cool about this plugin too, is it's like you just have to use your ears. So this is like 10 times, maybe if that's 2K and that's 1.3, so that's like maybe 15K, somewhere around there, maybe 14K, because it's times 10, and these two are turned off. So it's really, I'm just doing stuff to the top end, and then I've got the this is the discrete mode, so it's not tube saturation, but it's like transistor saturation. Anyways, so with and without and with. So it's just adding some, some brightness. Now I got some saturation going on here. So that would be a good spot to like. So that's with and without. And with. So it's doing that. It's kind of adding this like crunch to it, which I like. Okay, so here's another EQ. So I'm rolling everything off of 50, and I'm actually doing a top end cut. So this was a game changer to me when I realized that not everything, even stuff that is trebly, should have all of the frequencies. So this is a pretty drastic cut when you think about it. It's at 15K is the corner frequency. It's a 6 dB per octave, which isn't like, super drastic, like if I did 48. But, it's definitely taken some of that super high highs out. So without and with, so it's smoothing it a bit. Now, what did I do next? Oh, this is like a big cut to the mid-range. So now I'm filtering it out so that it's really just treble without and with. Okay, and now this is like such a cool plugin for top end. So now it's like crunchy and all kind of gross, but very much brighter. It's a lot of character there. So it's on right now and off. Back on. Like you can hear that chuka chuka kaka chuka. It's like really kind of gritty. And part of that is this phase distortion. So if I turn it up, here, I'll just loop apart. You hear that? I mean, that's obviously way too much, but that sounds like what, I guess the vinyl preparation, this is like the mastering kind of lacquer cutter, like plugin is what it is. It's like Waves Vinyl is what it's called, but this here, phase distortion, is really like emulating what vinyl can do to the actual top frequencies. It's called phase distortion. So if I take it back, let's go back to that open hi-hat. You'll really hear it there. Okay, so that psh, it's like gritty. And then without, oh, listen to the difference. Here's with it on. It's like, I'm exaggerating. And then without, it's like smoother. So like, there's an example of I'm intentionally adding character and grit to the sound. Man, the top end is like, I mean, it's just as important as the bottom end or any of the frequencies, but I really wanted to have that hi-hat tickling your ear in that like way that those old records did. And overall, the frequency like balance of this song is it's kind of top heavy. There's not a ton of low end because the bass is played higher up. So I'm actually leaning into that. I'm having the hi-hat be more prevalent. I'm having the vocals, they're kind of in an upper register. He's kind of singing up high. The song has a radio quality, and you lean into what you have. So anyways, that's the hi-hat. Overheads, I'll just kind of solo the overheads. There's nothing, the way I like to consider overheads is like neutral, I don't want it to sound too crazy, right? I only use one plugin on it. So that's like with the plugin. Here's without. All I did is really filter the top end. I wanted to get out of the way. The overhead is important, but really it's really the cymbal mic, Right, you hear it there. And I was playing around with, maybe using that plugin, but I didn't use it. I was playing around with another EQ of maybe dipping out some low end, but I ended up not using it. So, I mean, that's really that. But when you highlight, or when I unmute everything and I take the overhead away, it's like you're going to be missing something. So let's just listen to a part. So that's with the overhead. And without. And with. Without. It sounds weird with the tom mics not on there, but yeah, anyways, it's pretty, like, you hear the toms in there, but it's not like super big in the low end. It's not super bright. It's just like it's just kind of there, right? And it doesn't rip your head off when the cymbal hits, right? The cymbal sounds good, right? I've got some outboard EQ and like a tape simulator on that anyways. So it's not like, completely just like straight into the board here. I've got some stuff on the way in that makes it sound better than what it would have. But yeah, anyways, so now let's go to toms. Something important to note about the toms is that they go from this tom channel over to the toms where I've got some serious juice on the toms. Then the toms go to the drum bus. So anyway, let's find a spot with the toms. Yeah, so it's a good tom sound. But I'll take away the plugins, sort of even on the mix bus thing. Like, they sound good already. Like, I have the toms pretty dialed in. I don't mean to brag. It sounds like I'm bragging, but they're well tuned, and I didn't hit them too hard to choke them out, and they are gated on the way in too. Okay, so let's add the Lindell. So this is tom 1. Really nothing going on here. Oh, just another gate. So if I turn that off. So, I mean, I don't know. There is something going on there, but like without. Here, I'm just going to do tom 1 so that we don't get confused here. So this is without the plugin. And then with the plugin. Yeah, it's not really doing anything. It's just a Neve flavor. Okay, so then I added some kind of EQ, just a bump on the fundamental and a little bit of treble. And then without. It just helps it kind of like be more itself, I would say. And then the same with tom 2. I'm not even really using this EQ. It's just the gate, which is interesting. Okay. And then I did a little EQ move. No, it's just a tiny, I don't even know. 0.4 dB at 3K. Okay. Most of the juice happens on this channel here. So this is one of my favorite tape, and it just adds bottom end. So I'm just going to play it with and then bypass it. So that was with, and then without, and back with. It's just adding some mojo, definitely some low end. Normally when I use this plugin, I take a little bit of the bass out because it can be overpowering, especially with a tom that's pretty low. But I've only taken out 0.68 dB, and my normal kind of, I would say flat is around minus a dB or a dB and a half, somewhere in there. So I am intentionally like using the EQ curve of this plugin, you know, to help. Okay, what's next? Some EQ. So this is, I'm adding some attack that you will be able to hear this. Okay, and without, yeah, definitely adds some top, listen. It's just adding some clarity. Now this one is pretty cool. I've got this only 8% parallel. So it's really saturating the crap out of this. Like I think I got the 20:1 ratio. So it's really not even doing any gain reduction, but if I turn this to parallel 100%, oh, it's off. Sorry. Okay, let me turn it back to what it was at 8%. Oh man, I just have to stop there. You've seen those memes where it's like you're tweaking a compressor in bypass for like 2 hours and you don't realize. Okay, anyways, back to it kind of just in parallel. And then with it off. So it definitely adds like a little grit. And if I turn it up to like 50%, you hear that bong bong. It's like, it's definitely got, I mean, that even sounds cool, but it sounds maybe a little over compressed. That's why I only have it on 8%. Okay, moving on. So some more saturation here. So with this J37, oh yeah, and without, it's adding volume, but like, man, listen to the grit. Awesome. And that's the final sound. Okay, timbale. Let's find a timbale spot here. I got a lot of reverb on that. Okay. All right, let's turn off the plugins. Now this one goes straight to the drum bus 5, which has that Lindell. So that's, here, I'll turn the reverb off too. So like it does have a pretty long decay already, right? And another thing that's kind of cool here is I left the snare mic on. So I'll turn that off and you'll hear the difference. Listen to that. Listen to how much attack it adds. I turned it down, right? It would have been louder. I turned it down so that there's just, I'm using the snare mic that opened the gate. So yeah, I should say the timbale and the toms and the snare are gated. Like look at this snare. It's gated already. Like I set up the gate when I recorded it. Might do another video showing like my setup of how I record and all the outboard and stuff. But anyways, I'm using the snare as an attack. So with, without, and with, which it has reverb and stuff on it too. But yeah, so anyways, and with the plugins, it's way louder. And with the reverb, but I'll just turn one on at a time here. So let's see. So yeah, you're here. Just keep in mind, you're hearing that snare mic of the timbale the right amount, you know. With it off, it sounds anemic. Here, I'll turn it off. I don't know. It still sounds good, but with it on, it's just got that, you know, it's that attack. So without the plugin, so yeah, I'm definitely adding 200 hertz, couple dB, 10 dB of 4.8K, and 13 dB of top end at 10K, which is like gnarly. So if I just turn the EQ off and then back on, it's just way brighter, way in the upper, you know, I wanted it to like hit you, man. I've also got the compressor's turned off and the gate is on. So yeah. And also look at all the saturation on the line amp. This is being boosted into this line preamp or whatever, 11 dB, and it's got the total harmonic distortion turned all the way up. So without it, you know, it's like bong, and with it, it's just like, ow. It kind of hurts your ears on purpose. Okay, and then what did I do here? A 50% wet, 8-to-1 ratio on this purple. That's without, so it's even more present. That's all that was doing. Okay, then I added some saturation. Many of you know I love this plugin for grit, so let's hear it with. Now it doesn't hurt your ears as much, right? Without, it's like too sharp. So this actually tamed the transient. It like cut it off and made it more like meaty. Without, yeah, so that kind of helped it sit. It was like too violent. And then I added even more low mids. Without and with. Yeah, so that's the final timbali sound. Now the rototom, I have one rototom fill here. And if there's one thing I could change about this song, it would be what I did to this rototom, if I'm honest. It just gets a little bit, it's like kind of too upper mid-rangey. It's cool what I did, but you know, it's the phaser. It's what's the phaser's doing. Okay, so the first thing I did was like filter the crap out of it. So this is without any plugins. Okay, so, you know, it's very kind of normal sounding, boom, 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 boom. Okay, and then I've filtered it. You know, I kind of cleaned up the low end. And then I added a phaser, which is cool. And every time you play it, that phaser's in a different spot. But, okay, let's look at the phaser. So it's 100% wet on this phaser. This is the Phase Mistress. It's pretty resonant. The modulation, you know, that just means like how many frequencies does it move around? And then kind of what frequency. And I've got it up. If I were to move this like lower, you know, that's probably that's what I was saying. If I could change something, it would have been that, to have it be lower. But this is what it was at. So it's like upper mids. I wish I had it down here. It's a small change. It's probably silly. Anyways, that's the phaser. It's a cool sounding phaser. Okay, so I did some EQ. 1.5 dBs at 220 hertz. This is the low shelf, by the way. I also cut anything below 160 on this filter. I mean, I already did that kind of here, right? I already did that, but whatever. I did it again. And I don't remember which plugin I did where. Oftentimes I'll work on the roto, then I'll work on something else, and then I'll come back and I might have, you know, forgot or whatever. I'm adding a lot of 700 hertz, like a lot, 7 dB, and a lot of top end as well. Medium amount of saturation, a little bit into the line amp. I'm compressing the crap out of it with the smash, which this is the secret weapon if you want something to come forward in the mix, is turn this smash button on the compressor of this plugin and only have it, you know, between 3 and 15% wet, and we'll hear what that does. So that's without, and with, like, man, that just, it really, so without and with, so it just really brought it forward. And if I turn that, just the compressor off, and with, you know, it just kind of really got in your face. The gate's not really doing anything. So what else? Okay, now I've got this Abbey Road to add some grit. Here's with it. Wow, and without. So add, it just kind of dirtied it up a little bit. And now here's the Pan Man. So it kind of, you know, it moves around in the stereo field. I'm obsessed with Pan Man. I probably have it on like 5 or 6 things in this project. Okay, those are the drums. So let's listen to kind of, I know the balance might not be right, but let's listen to everything with and without plugins. So here's with and without. Yeah, I'll have to turn this off. So, you know, it's pretty boring sounding. And then if I turn the plugins back on, it's just, it sounds pretty massive, you know? Okay. Percussions. I'm just going to go through this like pretty quick. So all of these percussions go to this percussion bus. And basically I just threw sort of like this preset. This is another really great channel strip that came out probably since the last time I've done a video. You know, I love that Lindell 80. I use it all the time, but this is like the next one that I use. And really this is known, it's modeled after a Helios console, which they had, there's one on sale for like, I think it's $1 million. Alberosi is trying to sell it. It's kind of a joke, I think. Kind of a PR stunt, perhaps. Anyways, yeah, like that console recorded so many records, so many reggae records, and it has a really nice low end, is what it's really. I mean, it's beautiful all around. So I would suggest getting this if you already own the Lindell 80. This is another really good one to grab. So anyways, but I've pretty much copied this preset, so to speak, and I mean, I've got the smash thing on and it's 100% wet, so it is like just screaming. If I pull up the high block, you know, it's not doing a lot of compression, but here, where's the low block? So it's not doing a lot of compression, but it's that smash mode. So if I were to turn these plugins off, you know, they're just quieter and further back, but I turn them on, they're like right up, you know, they're right up there. And then so I've got another one of these guys, same kind of preset, but it's only 19% wet on this and smash kind of thing. But I've boosted the gain a lot. I didn't mess with the total harmonic distortion, but anyways, like, you know, it's pretty basic. I don't want to spend too much time on percussions, but yeah, I put them loud enough that you can hear them. And I do have this super plate, which normally I run a bus to the reverb, but I'm like, I'm going to give these things their own reverb. So here's, so without the reverb and with the reverb. It's a pretty long reverb. Here's the pre-chorus stuff. The triangle in there. Then I did the Vibraslap. I'll talk about that. I used Pan Man on Vibraslap. Oh, wrong one. Here you go. So you can see it's like moving left and right. And like in the mix, you can, it's apparent. You can hear it. I was so broken inside. Then you gave me life, and I couldn't see, so you took me high. Okay, so that's the percussions. Bass, I'm gonna do this one quickly because it's kind of boring to talk about what I did. I'm just gonna delete that one. Okay, without any plugins. Man, I can't even hear the difference. It's thicker, I guess. Okay, I'm just gonna go through. So I added some low end, cut out some low mids, and then I added the virtual tape machine. That definitely made a difference. And I cut a little bit of the bass. And also, like, it's important with this plugin to like gain stage it properly. If you do it too, you can make it like actually distort, you know? So that's with it on sort of where I left it, which it's not going too close to 0. If we were to bump it up, it kind of compresses a little bit more. Going back, see, there's more headroom there. I can hear a difference. It's very subtle. Okay, then this is a compressor. This one did a lot. It's just making it breathe a little bit, front to back, you know what I mean? Without, it's more like constant. It's about to breathe. Yeah, that little bit, it's no more than 3 dB. And then this is like barely wet. I wanted a little bit, I wanted it to cut through the mix a little bit. I'm gonna exaggerate this. And then back to where it was. So it's just to add a little bit really of harmonics. Okay, and then I filtered the low end. So looking at these EQ moves, this is something that I would have done like towards the end of the mix, you know, to try to clean up the low end and boost, you know, maybe where the kick isn't, you know what I mean? These kind of choices that I made would have been to kind of just shape around the vocals and shape around the kick, right? And then here's another little boost at 100 hertz. So this is what I did at the end when I was looking at the overall frequency response of the song. I'm like, I need a little bit more low end, but I didn't want it to like get in the way of like the, you know, the kick. So if I turn this off and then back on, see, it kind of added that low, it's almost like a low mid. It's a low end, but it's like a low mid almost, just to fill in a hole that was missing in the overall frequency response. Okay, that's all that's on the bass. Now we'll do the pluck guitar. I think we'll do it like in the mix from now on. You know what I mean? Add it. Okay, so without anything. Sounds kind of thin, kind of like nasally. So what I do? Oh, I made it more nasally. Added more mids, cut some lows that I don't need. Then I added, here he goes, where I added the mid-range, like 700 hertz, and a bunch more low end. So I filtered it at 45 hertz, added a bunch at 220 on a shelf, and then added 3.3 dBs at 700 hertz. So without. So this is still too loud, but this phaser, when I add this, it's gonna make it quieter. Now it's like sitting where it's a little bit more in the pocket, and then this is just a finishing touch. Now it's like more fat, it's more full. It sits under the bass, but it's like, it's pretty present. Now how about in the mix?
You turn my wailing into dancing.
It's not super prominent in volume, but it's there.
You turn my wailing into dancing.
The point of the pluck guitar is to really just like it's to add more to the bass. It's to add more upper harmonics that's not in the form of like distortion, what I was doing with the bass here with this like little radiator. It's the same idea. It gives another texture, but it also extends the bass from the lower frequencies to like the mids and the upper mids, you know? Okay, so that's the pluck guitar. Now moving over to the guitar chops. So I've got 4 guitars here, a left guitar and a right guitar, which I'll turn, and these are going into this guitar chops bus. And then it is important to note all the rhythm stuff is going here, but there's no plugins on it. It's just so that I could add delay and stuff during that drum and bass part and the reverb splash. But anyways, I added some more upper mids. I would have done the same to both. Right? And it's important to note that I'm using different, so I recorded this with my Telecaster, and I use different pickup positions. And the idea here is that it's just fuller sounding. But really, these are like the background ones. You know, they're not like super interesting or anything. They're just a loop, right? You could see. And then here's one called the thick guitar. So you can hear it's a lot meatier sounding. And then the main one, if I had to mute all the rest of them, this is the main one. This is the one that you really hear in the mix. It's got the most plugins and stuff on it. So if I were to turn off the plugins on the bus, that's what you hear. And then with them, it's really nice. There is like a little bit of like kind of, I don't want to say phasiness, but like flamming, like a little bit, but you can't really hear it in the full mix. Like,
Devil thought that he took my home. Then I heard you call my name. Broke every
right? You don't hear that. Also something that I should point out is they're panned out. The background ones are panned out more left and right than sort of the main one and the thick guitar one. So anyways, yeah. Back to these kind of background ones. I've got 2 plugins here. Turn these on. So tried to thicken them up a little bit by adding some low shelf and then 1.6K. It's pretty much all these are doing. Maybe a little bit of compression and also, yeah, the gate. See, there's kind of some finger noise that I had. I used the gate to get rid of that. Can't hear it anymore. And then let's go through like on the bus, very low filter at the bottom. I don't know why. And then just more mid, more upper mids, I should say, without kind of cloudy sounding. Okay. And then one of these, again, smashed, only 7%. Got some EQ on here, 3.5K in boosting, and 2 dB at 10K. And I'm also boosting some gain, and I've got some saturation going, so without and with, subtle. Then I've got the little radiator, but it's like mostly not dry. If I were to turn it off, you know, that's really kind of what it's doing, but at a lesser volume, at a lesser amount. And then this is a cool plugin that I haven't featured on the channel yet. It's a cool EQ, but it also has like drive, and you can set the like the kind of threshold for crunchiness. So like if I were to, I don't have it on. So this is like super crunchy. This is what it's set at. But as an example, if I turn this peak level down, you can get some pretty gnarly saturation, right? So this is the setting I had it on. And it's more noticeable with the other guitars in there. Remember, this is on the bus. But yeah, so we'll go to the thick guitar. We'll add that one. So that EQ's not doing anything. This one's just adding just low end, really. Low mids. And a gate. And then the main guitar. So I cut out a little bit of this like very top end. This is the middle position on the telly, so it's both pickups. So I'm just gonna kind of, this is just the main guitar, so okay. Standard with this EQ. Then I've added the Lindell. Now this should make a difference. Yeah, some nice saturation from this little radiator. Works great on guitar. So without and with. Then I added some phaser. Then some more saturation. But this is just like turning the plugin on. It's not boosting tons, although it does turn it up. So then here's with all the guitars. And then we'll go through these plugins again, just quickly. Like that sounds good, but in the mix,
Heard you call my name, broke every chain and you took
they don't poke out enough. So if I turn these plugins on,
my hope. And I heard you call my name, broke every chain.
it's not necessarily just a volume thing, like I think it is, but
Every chain and you took my pain.
so minus 9.3. Let's see.
And you took my pain.
Yeah, it's 2 dB
And you
louder.
took my pain.
But
Every
with this little bit of saturation that I'm adding, with this little bit of smashed at 7%,
every chain and you took my pain. Now I'm
definitely
not the same.
pokes out at you. So yeah, that's the guitars. Now we talked a little bit about this piano, this E piano. Oops. It's pretty gritty and gnarly. If I turn off everything, like the settings on the piano, it's got, where's the, I feel like there's a crunch drive. Here it is. So without the drive, yeah, and with the drive, it's got that character to it. Okay, so I filtered everything out low if we turn that off. And then I added a compressor. It's really mostly just adding some depth. And then this guy, more saturation. Oh, that thing is awesome. And then more saturation with this tape plugin. So without and with and without. Yeah, so it just kind of does that thing. But that's a pretty background song. So let's talk about the clav here. It's so crazy. So again, is there Pan Man on that thing? Sounds like there is. There is. Okay. So without anything, that sounds like that. Okay, so the first thing I did was use Little Radiator. Oh, I left the noise on. That's shocking. I always try to turn that off. Okay, then a compressor. It's pretty subtle. EQ, this one's pretty drastic. Boosting low end, cutting top end. Without and with. Just kind of took out, it was like poking out too much. Justin wanted this, originally I had it up more in the mix, and he was like, yeah, maybe turn down the clav. And now like you don't even know it's there, but I like that. Like if we listen. Like you wouldn't know it's there if I didn't tell you there's a clav there. Listen again. I'm not the same. It's like meow, you know. Okay, back to where we were. Adding Pan Man. It's pretty gnarly, and without. And then I added a VTM, which will add more bass. Oh, I didn't even cut the bass on it. So here we go. Sounds so cool. And then without that. Yeah, I love this plugin, man. It makes it sound like music. I don't know. Here's with it on. Very cool background noise. Lots of reverb, some delay and everything. Okay, piano. Now this is weird. My preamp that I use on, normally I use this U87, and I got two, what are they called? 184s. They're the pencil mics, the Neumann. So I kind of like pointed at the piano here, and then I have this U87 sort of in the middle as the mono. But these are like a stereo pair kind of thing. So we'll hear the stereo pair here. And normally that's like the kind of top end, I'll say, middle to top end. And then normally the U87 is the low, which I just added, but it's very tinny sounding, the U87. And I don't know, something happened with my Cappy preamp. It just, for whatever reason, it just, I don't know, maybe I have like a bad solder joint or something, but it's super thin sounding. Like listen to how thin that is. I mean, to be fair, I did kind of filter it with these plugins, but if I turn those off, yeah, so anyways, I had to make these kind of the more low sound, right? And so that's fine. I just had to voice them differently than what I normally would have, but I still think that adds something to the sound, you know? Like if I'll mute the U87, here's with it in, and with it out. It's missing something, right? So I definitely did something there with the blend that, made it work better. So if we turn off the bus, so yeah, these two piano tracks go into this piano bus, and then that goes into the rhythm bus, like I said. See, that's the automation, which we'll talk about later. This video is getting long. Okay. I was so broken inside. Okay, so anyway, back to piano. So I'm going to turn off all the bus stuff, and then just quickly go through what I did here. Big boost in the middle range on the stereo one. And then I tried to do a very broad low end boost on the mono one. Just a gate, really, is all I did there. Same thing. With the gate turned off, it's a real piano, it resonates forever. So, you know, that's the idea of sort of these gates that I'm using on these two. So if I turn them off, and then turn them on, so that's with the gates off, and with the gates on, it just like it kills the sustain, and that's kind of important, I think. Okay, then what do I have here? Just an EQ, mostly top end. I'll go back. Yeah, that's all I'm really doing is some EQ here, just adding 5 dB starting at 1.5K. Without, sounds more natural. And then with, really kind of puts it in that spot in your ear, you know? Okay, now on the bus of both of these, a virtual tape machine. So it's definitely adding low end, some vibe without, and with. Got a nice body. That's what I love that plugin, man. It adds more kind of low mids and lows to something that if it's tinny sounding, you add that sucker and it just brings it there. Okay, then some compression, only 42% wet. So this is a faster attack. It's a faster attack at 3 milliseconds. And the ratio's at 10. So this is like pretty gnarly. Squasher was the preset I started with. But it's only, 42% wet. So if I turn it off, with it on, it just makes it poke out a bit more. Wow, this is really compressed sounding. Crazy. 6-to-1, 2 dBs. A lot of gain, a lot of saturation, a big boost to the mid-range and the low end and the top end. This is like a crazy kind of without. So like this really has a lot of compression, probably like more than I would normally use. So I got rid of a note here that I guess I didn't like at 1680. And just a little boost on the top, a little. And then this is that plugin that I was showing you. It really added some, it added some brightness, but it also added some grit, just like a little bit. So what am I doing here? At 520 hertz, I have a half a dB boost. At 1K, I've got a 1.5 dB boost. And at 12K, a 1 dB boost, like a shelf. So without and with, it's just the finishing touch, man. So without, it's a lot quieter, but it sounds like a piano in a room. This, it's what the track needs.
Into dancing. You turn my wailing into dancing, yeah.
It doesn't sound too compressed in the mix, I'll say. Okay, organ. This bubble organ is pretty special. It's gnarly. Nothing like a real organ. So how I've got this mic'd is one Coles 4038 on the bottom. So we'll listen to that. And then I've got two of those Neumann K184s sort of on the upper part of the Leslie rotor. So that's adding the percussive, the top part of the percussive. That's just the top mics. And they are stereo because that thing is spinning around, and then both together. Okay, so these are going into this bub organ bus, and then that's going into all organs, which adds these organs as well. right, into this bus. Which is...
Now all I can do.
Okay, so anyways, back to the bub organ. If we were to kind of go through what we did here, I'll turn off the bus stuff. I'll leave this one because this, let's see what's on the overall organ bus. Just some, making it a little deeper, more mid-range. A 1% smash, so just a tiny bit. That's really it. So it's not doing a heck of a lot, but I'll leave that one on. Okay, so then just the lower, if we listen to the lower mic, here's without anything. So you can kind of hear that like, whoa, there's like a hum there. So I'm cutting out everything that I don't need. 4. You hear the droning. So that cleaned it up a lot. Then I added a gate. This FG Dynamics, it's from an SSL. And then what? Just a tiny bit of low end without and with. I don't even think I really needed that, but I was just trying to tighten it up. Okay, now the top. So again, filtering what I don't need without, which is interesting. I took out a lot of treble. It's really kind of a filtered sound, but this is just the bubble, right? It's not this organ, right? It's just the bubble. So I didn't want it to have too much treble is what it was. Okay, now I added to the bus, intentionally making it saturate. You can see it. Here's without and with. I made it gnarly sounding. Okay, then the Lindell 69. That's cool. Nice compression, or sorry, nice compression here. I added 2 dBs at 300 hertz. Nothing in the mid-range, and then just a little bit of top. So without, it's more flat. That's with it compressed. It's nice, it's more lively. That's with it on. I'm gonna turn it off. I can hear a difference. It's probably subtle. I don't know if it's gonna come through, but it's a dynamics thing, right? It's like accentuating the bubble. Okay, and then I added an EQ here. It's kind of in the fundamental and a bit on the top. And this is a gate. Wow, that's drastic. So similar to the piano, how I didn't want it to sustain. I really cut down the sustain on this. It's just a bubble. So without and with. Without. With. It almost sounds fake with it gated, but it's what it needed in the mix, right? Okay, now we'll do the percussive. I'm gonna leave the bubble lower. The lower organ, the bubble part. So the idea is it's like ooh ooh ah ooh 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 ah ah ooh ooh. Okay, to the upper organ. So if I turn, so basically I called it the perk lower and perk upper. That goes into the perk organ bus, which then goes into the all organs bus. Okay, so starting with the just the upper mic, I guess I'll say. This is the stereo pair. And then the lower. So it's pretty like weird sounding because that lower mic. This is the upper frequencies, but like I'm sure when I boosted a lot here. Yeah, see. Now it's more balance, so to speak. But anyways, what did I do to this lower mic or upper mics? I filtered it at 200 hertz, added some mid-range, little radiator, add some grit, and then this guy, big EQ move, 4K, 5.6 dB, and a shelf starting at 2.3, 5 dB boost. So like basically taking your ear off with treble. And I wanted it to really sit. But then that's why when you mix it with the lower microphone, right now it's like really tinny and in your ear. With that lower mic, it's gonna kind of soften the blow, so to speak. So I've added that mic in now. Right now it doesn't hurt your ears as much, but I still filtered the noise. Hear the droning. Right, that cleaned it up. And then I added just some EQ and a bit of smashed compression to that lower mic. Okay, now on the bus, again, a tape machine. Without and with. It's pretty subtle, but how about this one? So this is really the main move here. 1.4K, 2 dB, and 10 kilohertz boost at 2 dB. And then this smashed at 8%. So with that off, you know, it's a lot quieter, but it took it back to almost like cutting your ear, like into your brain. But that was the intention, like in the mix, right? It needs to like grab you. So all of the organs just together. Here, oh, oops, sorry. Well, it's got the drum and bass part. Sounds awesome. It's a very characteristic part of this song.
When I was hurting and in pain.
Okay, vocals is the last thing. And then maybe the bit of the
All I
automation.
can do is give you praises. Giving me peace again, yeah.
Okay, so lead vocal. Man, it sounds so good. Okay, so that original kind of session that I showed you, it had all of the vocal effects and kind of everything. And he also ran it through his own tape machine like 2 times, maybe 3 times. So it already has like a cool characteristic to it. So let's just listen to it with like, so this lead vocal's going into all of these buses, or into this bus here, the vocal bus. So I should capitalize it. Yeah. Okay, so I'll turn that off. Here we go.
I was hurting deep within. I couldn't tell if this pain would end.
That's with reverb.
Walking down this lonely road, the devil thought that he took my hold. Then I heard you call my name, broke every chain and you took my pain.
Okay, so I'll just... Sounds awesome already because he already kind of processed it a bit. And I said, hey, send me what you have because it sounds good already, man. I'll just, you know, sweeten it up. But I said, send the vocal effects on a separate layer. So he did that. So if I add that.
Then I heard you call my name.
Here's the. So that was his own like effects that he sent me. It's a cool slap back. Right? And so I just blended that in, but I'll mute that for now. Or I'll just solo the lead and then we'll go through what we did there. So here's the Lindell 80.
I was hurting deep within.
It's without anything.
I couldn't tell if this pain would.
Which it sounds so good. Okay, then I'll add this plugin.
Wouldn't. Walking down this lonely road, The devil thought that he took my heart.
So what I did here is I got rid of as much saturation as I could from this plugin because it can be heavy-handed. It already has saturation from a real tape machine. So I took it all the way down and I turned the volume all the way down to get the least amount of saturation. Then what I did here is I just did a little boost at 1.6K and a 12K boost. I filtered off at 45 Hertz, and there's just a tiny boost in the low end. Then I've got the compressor on here. I don't know how much it's really doing.
Then I heard you call my name, broke every chain, and you took my pain.
So without.
Now I'm not the same.
And with.
Now I'm not the same.
So really just like a little more presence, like it's a little more in your face. Okay, then Millennia. So I just boosted a little bit, one notch on the top end and one notch in the mid range. So at about, I don't know, 600 or 500 Hertz a little bit. One of these clicks, which is, I guess, like a half a dB, and then a shelf at 8K. So without.
Now I'm not the same.
And with.
Now I'm not the same.
So again, more presence, but in the uppers. Okay, and then a little EQ. This is like a very broad mid-range and a top end. Hold on a second.
Then I heard you call my name.
So without.
Then I heard you call my name.
And with.
Then I heard you call my.
It's subtle. Okay. Getting into then the bus, which there's background. So like a lot of the processing I did for the vocals is in here too. But what's going on here?
Then I heard you call my name, broke every chain and you took my pain.
Okay, so I've got a gate on here and quite a lot of compression really. But like you need it, you know, for the lead.
Then I heard you call my name,
2 dBs.
Broke every chain and you took my
gate.
pain. Then I heard you call my name,
So without.
broke every chain and you took my pain.
And with.
Then I heard you call my name, broke every chain and you took my pain.
Yeah, it's cool. It's just sweeten it. Okay, so then some EQ here. Again, remember I said this is my favorite plugin for top end. So I've got 2 clicks, so maybe 2 dB at 21 kilohertz.
Then I heard you call
without.
my name, broke every chain and you took my pain.
And with.
Then I heard you call my name.
It's pretty subtle. Okay. I'm adding more kind of mids.
Then I heard you call my name.
Yeah, this really puts it in front. Without.
Then I heard you call my name.
And with.
Then I heard you call my name.
Awesome. Okay, then this one's kind of crazy. I wanted it more saturated because I wanted to lean into that vintage sound. So here we go.
Then I heard you call my name.
So again, it's just adding that like phase distortion, some drive.
Then I heard you call my name.
So that was with, here's without.
Then I heard you call my name.
So yeah, I like filled out the low end and it added some sparkle in the top. Here we go with it on.
Then I heard you call my name.
Okay, and then I use this directional mixer. This is more to do with the background vocals. It just brings in the spread a tiny bit. And I don't know why, but I panned it 2 degrees.
Then I heard you call my name.
Okay, so you're not going to notice anything without the background. So then here we go. This is the last finishing touch. I put one more notch at 16K. So here we go.
Then I heard you call my name.
Without.
Broke every chain and you took my pain.
And with.
Then I heard you call my name. Broke every chain and you took my pain.
So yeah, it's kind of like in solo, it doesn't sound like really, really good in solo. I think that in solo, what he did to it before I even touched anything actually sounded better, but this helped it live in the mix where it needed to live, if that makes sense. So we'll kind of listen to it with nothing soloed, and then I'll turn on and off kind of these mix bus. Like I'll turn off all the processing.
Then I heard you call my name, broke every chain and you
that's
took
with all
my
the plugins
pain.
on. Here's with it
Then
without.
I heard you call my name, broke every chain and you took my pain.
So, I mean, it's definitely not loud enough too, but like it doesn't like sit on top. It kind of is just a little bit, anemic sounding, I guess.
Then I heard you call my name.
Actually, I'm going to try to do a level match. Okay, so minus 1.2 dB.
Then I heard you call my name, broke every chain and you took my pain.
Okay, so that's with no processing.
Then I heard you call my name,
And like
broke
loud.
every chain and you took my pain.
Okay, and then back to where it was.
Then I heard you call my name,
It
broke
cuts.
every chain and you took my pain.
Okay, that's a good practical example. And he never expected it to be the final vocal. Like that was just the kind of pre-processing he did. Okay, now the background vocals. So I didn't do much to him, as you can see.
No, I'm not the same.
Yeah, so and then without.
No, I'm not the same.
So what did I really do? I just added some compression.
No, I'm not the same.
That's really all it's really doing. There's also this fifth harmony right here.
Peace again, yeah.
Okay, and here's with the lead as well.
You're giving me peace again, yeah.
So without the processing on the backgrounds,
You're giving me peace again, yeah.
it sounds cool as it is. But
You're
with,
giving me peace again,
yeah,
yeah.
they're just a little bit more present, a little bit brighter. So, and then here's the vocal effects that we talked about so here's like the final vocal sort of everything.
You're giving me peace again, yeah.
Sounds cool. And then in
Giving
the
me
mix,
peace again, yeah.
I feel like in retrospect, I could have probably had the vocals louder in general, like as far as the mix goes, but I didn't want it to be too modern. You know what I mean? I sent this track to my buddy Damon and he's like, dude, you got to turn up the vocals like 2 dB. So like, let's hear what that sounds like, because I'm curious if I'm right or if I'm wrong. So that would be about here.
Can do is give you praises. You're giving me peace again, yeah.
See, I think they stick out too much, but
Giving me peace again, yeah.
versus,
Peace again, yeah.
this is where they were.
Giving me peace again, yeah.
I don't know, maybe somewhere in the middle might be the right amount. But
You turn my way.
okay, let's talk a little bit about the dubwise here. So, and the effects. Okay, reverb first. This is my rack mount bright preset that I always use. It's only 2 seconds long though. And then I've got just like filtering the top end. That's important. So it doesn't get in the way with the vocals and like the stuff. This is a really cool kind of gnarly plugin that adds saturation to stuff. So let's just okay, so this is the standard reverb sound, and then filtered the top end. So with gets out of the way, and then with this plugin, it's gonna make it louder. It just seems to like just like makes it's a tube thing, right? So without and with, it's almost like as if like you're turning up like on a real tube spring reverb, like you're turning up the dwell knob. It's like it's adding some excitement and almost like drive to the reverb. I probably should try it with it in front of the reverb, but anyways, I did it after. So then this is, I'll do that same part with, I'm going to be adding the tape machine here. With the tape machine. So really, I added this saturation knob here. So it's along the same lines of what I'm trying to do with this guy. I'm just trying to make it a little more gritty and a little less anemic sounding. Like if you just listen to that part with none of the plugins, it just sounds way more boring than this. Right? Okay. I'm running out of time or battery here, so we're just gonna go through what I did with the dubwise. So all I'm really doing is I'm sending. Okay, so that's the reverb. This is the J37 on a delay mode. It's a 285 milliseconds. It's like a slapback kind of thing. Then I've got a tape plugin after that to just hit it, make it sound gnarly. Anyways, it sounds weird listening to just delay, but I made it a little brighter. Okay, so what did I do here? On the drum bus, I'm sending to delay here. You can watch it. And it's doing that ba ba ba, right? And I couldn't see, so you took me high. Then the reverb's coming into the rhythm section, and right here, see, watch. I did a splash of the rhythm section, which is here. If you watch aux 6, and then it mutes all that stuff. So really, I'm just having a little bit of delay going on the drums, and some reverb splash right here again. Then use the rhythm section, and then I'll bring it back, and I'm going to turn down everything slowly so that it goes. Now it's kind of back to normal. Okay, now I'm going to get rid of all the plugins off the mix bus. Okay, one by one I'll add it on. This is the limiter, I'm going to keep that on. Compression. Adds a thickness, this bus townhouse compressor. It's only 66% wet, and it's maybe doing 2 dB on a 2-to-1 ratio. Auto release, pretty like, you know, not in your face compression. The Lindell 69. EQ, adding just top end, yeah, and smashing it at 9%, which is wild. If I turn this off, it loses clarity. Now it sounds sounding better. EQ, filtering the low end, adding more for the snare. Filtering the top, adding more brightness. Without and with. Again, just adding top end. One click. Tape machine. Oh man. All I can do is give you sounds a little too beefy right now, but without and with. Now this is a secret. This is a dynamic EQ that's making the snare louder. And I heard you call my name. Listen to the snare. Every chain and you took my pain. And without. Now I'm not listen to the snare. And back. You took my pain. Same thing, but on the top end of the snare. Adding this here. It's triggering it at, this is the key frequency, and this is the trigger frequency. adding more top end to that snare.
Now all I can do is give you praises.
Big low end boost, and I would have put this in early on in the mix, and filtering out the very top.
Giving me peace again.
And then this is just cutting the low end out of the sides, and it's just a hair boost at 20 hertz.
You turn my wailing into dancing.
So that's it. That's the whole thing. I pretty much showed you everything. I hope you've enjoyed this. And if you stuck around this far, you're like a die-hard DM Kahn fan. So, you know, thank you for everything. You know, thank you for your support. Thank you, Justice James, and thank you, God, and thank you, Jesus, for this awesome Christian reggae song. There'll be more coming from me in due season. But until then, have a great one, and God bless you. Peace.